We're going to start with our dessert, and I have lying here all of the things that we'll need for this preparation. First of all, I've already turned the oven on and preset it to 375. I have obtained these dishes and lightly greased them, and we have here, in order that they'll be used, a container with cream cheese that's been sitting at room temperature, and that's really important because it's impossible to beat if it's cold. Vanilla, sweetener, in this case I'm using erythritol, but you can use sugar. The juice of half a lemon, 2 eggs, and some cherries. And I will begin by smushing this cheese around a little bit, adding 2 tablespoons, of vanilla. 2 teaspoons, I said that incorrectly. The sugar and the lemon juice. And when I have all of these things carefully blended, I will then add in the eggs and beat them in one at a time. But you can see the texture of this is in need of mixing. And we start with the dessert because it takes time to cook. It doesn't take much time to prepare, but by the time we're ready for dessert at dinner time, these will be completely ready. Okay, this is looking quite good. I think I can move on to the next step. The blender has a little insert here that I use for mixing. Now you can see how much better this looks. We can now add in the second egg, if I can convince this not to fall on me. Okay, at this point it is completely smooth. Everything is well blended. And I need to find a way. Okay, now we'll take our containers and pour each one about half full. I may not need them all. And in fact, I do not need them all. We can do it. Looks like 3 will do it. If you're cooking for more than 3 people, you can double this recipe quite easily. And now, we don't need these 2. We can use any fruit here. We've done it with blueberries, we can do it with raspberries, but today we're doing it with cherries. And so I'm going to decorate each one with cherries on the top. Prior to this demonstration, I washed and pitted these cherries, and I cut them in half. So now you can see what it looks like. They'll sink a bit during the cooking process, but that's fine. And the amount that you put in is not critically important. You put in more or less. And we are ready. Now, these cherries that I've prepared are perfectly good cherries, and I'm going to save them and probably add them to a salad sometime later in this week. I will now put these in the oven and cook them for 40 minutes. Okay, we're making a salad. We'll start with that. And I have already cut up and washed the greens, and I have rinsed them and tried to dry them in this device. And I will now, and I've emptied the water out, and I will now use the holder to put our greens in as we're preparing them. And I'll put this over here. Now we can use any kind of greens for this, and I alternate them on a regular basis. It can be spinach, it can be arugula, it can be romaine lettuce, it can be kale, it can be cabbage. And before I add in the other vegetables, I'm going to put together this dressing, which, because of all the fruits and the flavors in this particular salad, will go well with lime juice. So this is the juice of 1 lime. It's about 2 tablespoonfuls. And to that we're going to add a tablespoon of soy sauce, which I have already put in there, and a tablespoon of honey. Now again, I've put in sugar-free honey, which is fake honey. It's not really honey. You can use real honey. It will taste much better. But if you need to cut your carbs, this is a reasonable way to do it. So our salad dressing is very, very simple, and it's ready. Just mix these ingredients together. And now again, as a general rule, I add 4 or 5 additional ingredients to the leafy greens. And I'll put this aside until we're ready to dress the salad. In this case, the basic items are going to be a pepper, a cucumber, and some scallions. And so I'll begin with the scallions. I'm going to slice them as thinly as I can readily do. I've washed and trimmed all of these, as you can see, prior to this demonstration. Okay, now we can add those in. That's good enough. Next, I'll chop up this pepper. Now, I'm using pepper and cucumber and scallions here. You can use any other raw vegetables that you like, and it really doesn't make much difference. And in fact, it's fun to vary them. So occasionally I'll use fennel or radishes are kind of good in there, onions, etc. You're only limited by what things you and your family like. And finally, the cucumber. As you can see, this doesn't take a great deal of talent or a great deal of time. It's pretty easy to do. But there's an advantage to what I'm showing you here, and that is this amount of salad is way more than my family would eat at a single meal. So what I do is put these ingredients that are very stable in all together like this, and for tonight's dinner, I will take out what for my family will be a family-sized serving, and the rest of it I'm going to save. And this amount of salad will last us for 2 or 3 days, probably 3 or 4 days. So, okay, that's going to be good for our dinner. Now, to this salad that I'm serving tonight, we're going to add interesting ingredients, and I do something different every night. So this basic salad will always be there, but in addition you can chop up an apple, a pear, a peach. Tonight we're going to add half a cup of watermelon and half a cup of wild blueberries. We will mix that up. And put a little bit of oil on it. And now we need to add some of our dressing. And I will use about a tablespoon of dressing. And the rest we'll put aside to use on another occasion. Okay, and finally we'll sprinkle on top some roasted walnuts. And you can also serve this with feta sprinkles. It's quite delicious. And there we have our salad for the evening. Now, in order to make sure this salad keeps well, I do a little trick, and that is I put a piece of paper towel in to absorb any pooling of liquid that might happen, and to also keep it moist. And I cover it tightly, and it'll be just as fresh and beautiful tomorrow as it is today if you treat it that way. Okay, zoodles are a great substitute for noodles, and I use them in a lot of different ways. These zoodles are made from zucchini, and the zucchini is spiralized. You can see here I've spiralized the first one. The second one is coming up next. You can actually buy these things already spiralized at the grocery store, but this is kind of fun, so why not? And it's, as you can see, not a very difficult process, and it takes rather little time to spiralize 3 zucchini that will be the basis for our, or the base of our dinner tonight. And because some of these are really long, and it's not fun when you take a bite and it sticks all the way down to your waist, I will go through and chop it up a little bit. It also makes it easier to cook everything at the same time. Okay, and now I'm going to set this aside until we're ready to start cooking. Don't want to lose anybody. Okay, so in a moment you'll see the cooking. It takes 5 minutes at high temperature with constant stirring, and you'll see that in a moment. But I want to get everything ready because this is a very quick meal, and when the zoodles are done, the rest of the meal is about 4 minutes. Okay, so tonight we're having shrimp scampi on zoodles, and I have everything lined up in roughly the order that I'm going to use it. So these are the zucchini noodles, we call them zoodles. We need a little bit of olive oil to cook them in. We have garlic already smushed, wine, lemon juice, uncooked shrimp. They were frozen and they were very moist, and so they're sitting here to dry out, and some Aleppo pepper and salt and pepper. So I'm going to begin by cooking the zoodles, and I'm doing this at a high temperature, and I'm going to stir them and cook them for 5 minutes. And in that period of time, well, by cooking for that period of time, they will be still a little bit crispy, but well cooked all the way through. This is a very simple meal. The longest part of the meal is cooking these zoodles, and it's a very simple meal. I use a combination of butter and olive oil. Now I'm going to season them. They're almost done. I'm going to season them a little bit with salt and pepper. Mix it in well. Okay, they're done. And so I will now transfer them to this platter, this serving dish. Finally. Okay. Now, next up, we're going to put a little more butter in. Melt that butter and add in the garlic. We'll cook that for about a minute. And it's starting to brown. And as it starts to brown, I will now add in the shrimp. Okay, and that will also be cooked for about 1 minute on each side. And I have to keep moving them around because the ones in the middle get cooked faster than the ones on the outside. And we can tell when the shrimp are completely cooked because they will have a nice pink color. So now we're going to turn them over, move them around a little bit. We don't want to overcook shrimp. It becomes rubbery and doesn't taste good. Okay. Now 1 more minute. I'm going to season the shrimp as well. Bit of salt. Bit of pepper. Okay, shrimp are cooked, and I will stop their cooking by adding the wine and the lemon juice, and then removing the shrimp and placing it nicely all over the zoodles. While the wine is evaporating. That's looking pretty good here. I'm going to put in some Aleppo pepper to give it some heat. Turn off the fire. And then I will taste this sauce and make sure that it's adequately seasoned, and then we will drizzle it onto our dish and we're ready for dinner. All right, a spoon to taste it. Mighty fine. Okay, I have to get up to do this because I need to tilt the pan. Okay, we're ready.